think I'm not sure if we're Dave. Are we recording? We're good to go. Okay. All right, everybody. We're going to go ahead and call this meeting to order for the Panola Hercules Wastewater Subcommittee, July 10th, 2025 at 8:30. Our first order of business is we had the call to order and Pledge of Allegiance. So all those willing and able, please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Okay, so we'll move on to item 2.
Can we take a roll call?
Yeah, item 2 is roll call.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Roll call, please. Oh, sorry. I don't know why I used the gavel. Who's chairing who's taking the
Staff.
minutes?
Who's the staff person?
Staffing the meeting?
To do that. Actually, Leticia is running late,
Okay.
so I can possibly staff the meeting.
Okay. Yeah. We just need to call roll call.
Well, how about we just say who we are and
Right.
someone take tally?
Sure. Heba, why don't you go ahead?
Hebel Ginty, Public Works Director.
Josh Binder, Wastewater Treatment Plant Manager.
Glenn Dombeck, City of Hercules Director of Public Works.
Dilly Batrai, Council Member, City of Hercules.
Anthony Tave, City of Pinole, Vice Mayor.
Norma Martinez Rubin, Council Member, City of Pinole.
Great. Okay, everybody, let's move to item 3, approval of minutes from the April 16, 2025 meeting.
Can I have a motion to approve the minutes as is? And
Okay, can we get a second? I'll second.
I'll second. Yeah.
Yeah, so just protocol-wise, it would be the committee, and then you would be as staff. Got it. So I'll second it, and we'll go ahead and take a quick vote.
can you call the?
Okay.
Just call the name. You just call the name and we'll say yes or no, and then that will be our.
Dilly Batari.
Yes.
Devin
Aye.
Murphy.
So that would be
Normal.
Councilmember Martinez Rubin.
Councilmember
As alternate.
Norma Rubin. Yes. Anthony Tav.
Yes. Okay. So the minutes are approved. Say again.
3-0.
3-0. Minutes are approved. So we'll go to item 4, citizens to be heard, for items not on the agenda. Do we have any citizens to be heard?
Any public
Then,
from the online or anything?
and no, it's actually directed to my email, and there are
No comments?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I think we can move on to item 5, water pollution control plant operation report. Who would have that?
Plant manager.
The plant manager. Yeah.
Yes, so I'm just waiting for our crew to put it on the board there.
Okay, great.
Okay, so this is the operations report for July 10th, 2025. Next slide, please. The topics will include the monthly flow data, monthly performance indicators, project updates, questions from the April 16th, 2025 meeting, and a treatment plant overview. Okay, for the monthly flow data, I'm just going to go over the average flow and the flow totals. So for April 2025, Hercules had an average flow of 1.32 million, a total flow of 39.68 million, 49% of the total volume. For Pinole, we had an average flow of 1.37 million, a total of 40.96 million gallons, and 51% of the total volume. For the month of May, Hercules had an average flow of 1.29 million, a flow total of 39.91 million. Overall percentage of volume is 50%. For Pinole, the month of May had an average flow of 1.27 million, a total flow volume of 39.45 million, or 50% of the flow. For the month of June, Hercules had an average flow of 1.3 million, a total of 39.26 million, or 50% of the overall flow. For Pinole, the month of June, the average flow was 1.29 million and a total flow of 38.61 million gallons, or 50% of the overall flow. Next slide. Next, we'll go over the performance indicators. These are definitions for the performance indicators that we cover. You guys can read those on your own time. Next slide. So next I'll cover the monthly performance indicators for April, May, and June. First, we have CBOD. We had a influent average of 232, an effluent average of 11.5, and a percent removal of 95. For TSS, we had an influent average of 508, an effluent average of 20.4, and overall percent removal of 96. For our Enterococcus lab results, we had a most probable number of 9. For ammonia, we had an effluent average of 35 milligrams per liter. For the month of May, we had a CBOD influent average of 230, an effluent average of 10.6, and a 96% removal. For TSS, we had a 447 influent average, 22.5 effluent average, and a 97% removal. For our Enterococcus lab results, we had a most probable number of 5.1, and for our ammonia, we had a result of 36 milligrams per liter. For the month of June, we had a CBOD influent average of 214, an effluent average of 7.3, and a percent removal, 7.63, and a percent removal of 96. For total suspended solids, we had an influent average of 329, an effluent average of 25.1, and a percent removal of 92. For our Enterococcus lab results, we had a most probable number of 3.3, and for ammonia, we had an effluent average of 40 milligrams per liter. Does anybody have any questions on the monthly flow data or the monthly performance indicators?
Yes. First of all, thank you so much for the presentation, and great. A couple of things I would like to make a comment here. For the public record as well, and for public information, it would be easier. What would be our industry benchmark? Are we above or below, or is this number is just a number? And it would be more contextual, help us to make an informed decision if there is anything. Well, luckily we don't have to make a decision, but that would be helpful for the users of the report. So going forward, or any side note or sidebar or anything, if you can put that our industry benchmark numbers, all these numbers, what supposed to be, where we supposed to be, and where we stand, and then what action or attention we need to pay attention before it gets too worse. I think that would be more helpful going forward. Okay, that's just a recommendation. One other thing, I also would like to see this percent removal. Can you elaborate a little bit on that one? What does that mean, that we remove that percentage before it gets to that, the shoreline, I believe? But I just want to make sure I understood correctly.
Yes, thank you, Councilmember Batari. For the monthly performance indicators, I'll draw your attention to the column that says monthly effluent limit. So those aren't necessarily benchmarks, but those are a requirement that we have to be below for our permit limits. As far as benchmarks, we can talk about how we might be able to see what a benchmark might look like. I do have another slide later in the presentation that compares our performance indicators to another treatment plant, since that was a question from the last meeting. And then you had another question on...
Like a year-over-year comparison type of thing.
Okay, yeah, so just the comparison.
Just where we stand from last year to this year, see our performance, and then and just to know that, where we are heading towards. Sometime our memory is volatile. I don't know what happened last year.
Yes.
We refer back. So it would be more contextual for us to see the trend and make sure that we are all aligned, kind of thing.
Okay, I can get you some further performance data on a year-over-year basis. With wastewater, history tends to repeat itself, so monthly flows and figures and performance tends to be similar year over year unless we changed something in the treatment plant process or how we go about our operations. But I can definitely get you some numbers to kind of give you an idea of how we've performed from last year.
Thank you. I think that's my comment here.
Okay.
Mhm.
Councilmember Martinez-Remy.
Thank you. Yeah, questions. So I will definitely sit with you to go over the reports and what the different acronyms are, since it's the first time that I sit here as alternate and maybe coming more often. So something that I try to determine based on the report of flows is that we're aiming to have both cities are close to 50%. Is that an equal percentage? Is that what the goal is? That the flow reflects equal percentage in each city?
It's not a target per se. It's just to identify to each city council how much flow volume each city represents and how much came into the plant for this particular reporting period. And those flow totals and percentages vary each month and also varies during wet weather versus dry weather seasons.
Mm-hmm. But generally speaking, are both cities having similar levels or percentages of flow? Because they're very close to each other.
During dry season, we are very close. Hercules has a higher population than Pinole, so sometimes they're slightly higher. And other times we're pretty dead even at 50%.
Okay, thank you. So I did find, I think it was small c BOD and what that means, what that represents. What about TSS? Because what I'm finding is not what I'm sure is related to the wastewater.
Right, so total suspended solids is, as it sounds, it's any solids that have not been removed by the treatment plant. So this is an effluent average. So it's basically telling you that the amount of solids that are still remaining in the water after the treatment process has been completed. And for each of these individual months, it gives you an effluent average for each month in milligrams per liter.
Mm-hmm. So those are high percentages of removal. So do we ever get to 100? Or are there the circumstances such that equipment-wise and conditions of the help me out with this.
Clarifiers or the,
Clarifiers
right.
and whatever it is that's holding the waters being treated don't ever get to 100.
So currently, we're typically in this range, 95 to 98 typically. To get to 100, I don't think I've ever seen 100 for probably any wastewater treatment plant. You can get close, but typically not all the way to 100. When you do a biological nutrient removal process, which is a different form than we currently are operating under, you can achieve slightly higher levels than we are now.
And what is that minimum threshold that we don't want to reach? So in the 90s seems pretty good, where we're being compliant with whatever regulates the function of the wastewater treatment plant. What is it that we don't want to ever see?
Right, so our monthly effluent limit is 25 milligrams per liter, and off the top of my head, I'm not sure of the percentage. It might be something like 80 or 85, but I can get you that exact figure later.
Okay, well, at least tonight, I'm just trying to get a general understanding of this, and thank you for the questions about context, because I find it necessary to review this because of my role here. But yes, as a matter of public understanding, context is important, this is going to be a generalization, but the public does want to know how clean the water is that ends up in the bay. And so to the extent that we're able to describe that, then it's helpful to us. So thank you for that in advance.
You're welcome, Councilmember Rubin.
So I had one question about this, and I know that new regulations are coming. How are those going to be tracked and reported as well? Is that something that needs to be tracked and reported in a table like this?
So the State Water Resources and Control Board have adopted stricter regulations that we're going to need to comply with over the next 5 to 10 years, and we have certain benchmarks that we have to hit each year to show the state that we're going towards compliance.
Okay. I would just imagine, so would you say that next year we're going to have some type of benchmark to meet? Is that something that's trackable like this, or is it just something that's physically with the plant? Like you'd have to have capability of testing X or capability of testing Y, and it's just a one bullet point in this presentation, or is it an ongoing thing that has to be somewhat monitored?
So currently, the regulations just got adopted last year. The first couple of years, the benchmarks are more of a planning. You're starting to develop a plan on how you're going to potentially modify your treatment plant design to work towards the new regulations. So these first couple of years are the benchmark that we have to reach is more so on a level of our strategic path, more so than meeting any new limits.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Related.
Yeah, please.
Thank you. Related question. What is the time period when these regulations change? So are municipalities given 5 years, 10 years, so that those initial years that you're alluding to are part of how much time to comply?
Yes, the hard limit right now is 10 years. That includes, design and construction.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, seeing no other questions.
Okay. So next we'll cover project updates, and those updates will include aeration basin maintenance and switchover, blower replacement, nutrient probes installation, effluent outfall project, and wastewater treatment plant operations and maintenance manual. So we just completed our aeration basin maintenance and switchover. After the plant upgrade project completed, we have extended aeration basins, and we essentially have 2 large aeration basins. And since that project completed in 2018, 2019, we've been using the same aeration basin, and so it's been time to empty out the one that has been in service, perform maintenance on all of the interior parts, which include air piping and diffusers. So the staff went through a pretty intense process of emptying out and cleaning the online aeration basin, and that included swapping out all of the diffusers, which was 1,875 diffusers. You can see the picture on the right, which is an example of one section of our aeration basin, and each one of those circles is an air diffuser, which has like a perforated rubber plate on top that is scheduled for replacement over a certain time period. So that was quite a large task the staff completed. You know, the picture on the left, you have one of our operators cleaning all the rings that hold the diffusers in place. Next slide. And you can see the picture on the left. We've got our vac truck and maintenance staff helping to clean out all of the debris that has slowly settled out in the aeration basin over the past 7 years. And you can see the picture on the right. This is a picture of them squeegeeing and cleaning the bottom as they're finishing up cleaning operations of the bottom of the tank. And you can see how the air diffusers look when it has the diffuser on it versus the diffuser removed as it was in the last picture. So the next project update is our blower replacement. The update on that project is that the delivery is scheduled for mid-August 2025. For the new people on the council, we did have a blower failure. So the reason that we could not replace that blower with existing parts was because the manufacturer was not able to source a certain part. So we are in the process of receiving a new blower. This picture here is just a picture of our existing blower, and to the right you can see where we have removed the old blower and have it ready for arrival of the new blower for installation. So the next project update I have is for nutrient probes installation. We're still going through the process of installing nutrient probes. Now that we've completed the aeration basin switchover, we're going to finish installing the aeration basin probes, which we can move to either side of the basin. So that since we just finished the maintenance and startup of the other side of the aeration basin, we're going to finish installing these nutrient probes that will allow us to track and historize the level of nutrients that are in the wastewater as it travels through the aeration basin, and that will give us good data and a history to be able to plan for future nutrient removal restrictions, or stricter effluent limits, I should say. So the project updates for the effluent outfall project, that project went out to bid in summer of 2024, but we didn't have any bidders, so we're looking to repackage that project and put it out to bid again this summer. And the wastewater treatment plant operations and maintenance manual is still in progress. Periodically, we update this manual as a requirement of the State Water Board. So we're required to update that, and I'm hoping to have that finished by the end of this year. Does anybody have any questions on the project updates?
Sure, thank you. Thank you.
I mean, maybe it was a tie, right? Maybe the chair should figure out who it was.
Toss a coin.
Councilmember Martinez Rubin, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. curious about the no bidders. Circumstances in 2024 that you are aware of that might, you might encounter or face again this year, or things have changed? Are you optimistic? Hopefully, yes, but, some things are just out of one's control, right? So any insight as to why no bidders in 2024?
One of the things that we thought could have contributed to it is we had a design fee budgeted of $150,000, I believe, for that project. With a lot of engineering firms busy during that time, they could have had larger projects that they were focusing on. Other than that, we don't have a good idea of why it may not have been attractive to them.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to try and, like I said, repackage this and add some items that have to do with nutrient removal. And we've increased the design fee, I believe, to $250,000 as a budget number. So we're hoping to attract more bidders this time around.
Attract more bidders and do the kinds of things that you would need to have happen anyway,
Yes,
just now a part of a project. Okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
Councilmember Batari.
Thank you again for the updates. A couple of the question again. Thank you for that question. But I feel what we really need to know actually. Let's be proactive. What actually root cause, not bidding. If it is timing, let's change the timing of our bidding process, RFP process. Or if it is the cost associated or an underlying cost, let's revisit that topic as well if needed. Bring to the council or board, and then we will give a direction as needed or if needed. But want to make sure that if it is not bidding, then we need to be more proactive than reactive, I guess. Just a comment. Secondly, I don't know what are we still. If is this the good company, they will continue to manufacture this kind of blowers, or not? Because if they stop sourcing their parts, what if they also stop sourcing of the whole blowers as well? I assume that we put enough consideration on it, but I just want to point that out loud so that we are be mindful of that part as well. Secondly, what is the the cadence of our that filtration process or whatever you call aeration basin maintenance switchover cadence? Is it monthly, weekly, quarterly? How often we do? Can you please elaborate a little more on that one? I was curious that the how long it takes to clean that apart, and what if it takes longer for whatever reason, and then what would be our the contingency plan here that hey let it go anyways, or there is something that we can just make sure that we are fully compliant and not breaching any issues down in the line.
Yes, thank you for those observations, Councilmember Batari. I'll start with the aeration basin maintenance. There isn't a set frequency per se. Sometimes we do spot maintenance if there's large air leaks. Of course, you have a set of 200 horsepower blowers that are feeding air to these diffusers. So if you encounter any leak at any given time, you might decide to do maintenance due to leaks. Treatment plants generally empty and clean those type of large aeration basins anywhere from every 2 to 5 years. Sometimes you might go off of if you're losing pressure in your air header, you might notice that you're losing efficiency. That's a sign that you're losing efficiency. So that might be an indicator, but we've never really experienced that. Like I said, other things, if you know that something has gone awry or some parts have broken or are leaking, then that might trigger maintenance. But for now, we plan on doing this every 3 to 5 years going forward. The air diffusers, we have, the most current sanitary diffusers. They've so far since the last project, they've shown to be durable, and we are getting a full life expectancy out of them.
Thank you for the clarification. And I also wanted to make one request, if you will, because I'm a new on the board and just like new council member as well. And I think it would be helpful for us to have a site visit, if the board wants, maybe, they give us a site visit. I think that helps us to be more knowledgeable of the site and the process, how it works. And then maybe we'll save some question down in the line for you guys as well. And helps us to make an informed decision down in the line, I guess. I think I want to propose that, down.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, definitely. You're welcome to schedule a plant tour. The entire process for the aeration basin switchover took the operations and maintenance staff 3 months. So it was quite a bit of work. Your other question in regards to the blowers and the critical component that could no longer be sourced, we did not purchase the same brand of blower this time around. So our plan is to replace the other two during this coming budget cycle. So we're moving on from that brand of blower that we received as part of the competitively bid project back in 2018, that finished in 2018.
Okay, great, thank you. I have one more question, if you don't mind.
Yes.
I saw that, there is a comparison from, for 18. I think you are going to touch base later on, I guess. But, I was curious why, Benicia is our comparable city or plant or the process plant. That's why we put up Benicia. I was curious, why Benicia, not XYZ.
Yeah, so we chose the city of Benicia because they are similar size in relation to the plant flow and just the overall sort of the process that they have versus Pinole Hercules. There are other ones that are closer in the area. West County is much larger than us, and I believe they run a little bit different process. There's Rodeo, but they have a fraction of the flow that we do, only like 500,000 gallons per day, whereas we are at around 2.5 million gallons a day.
So basically, it's a comparable characteristics.
Yes, I
Makes
tried to
sense.
choose something that was relatively comparable to Pinole Hercules.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Any other questions on the project updates before we move on?
No, it doesn't seem.
Okay.
Doesn't seem like there's any questions.
So moving on to the questions from the April 16th, 2025 meeting. The question came up, how does Pinole Hercules performance compare to other wastewater treatment plants? So as we just discussed briefly, I have two spreadsheets, small spreadsheets here, which is the monthly performance indicators for April of 2025. The one on top is Pinole Hercules, and the one on the bottom is the city of Benicia. So this is in the same format as the other performance indicators earlier in the presentation, just to make it easier to see a side-by-side comparison. And our performance is relatively close. If you look at the first parameter, CBOD, our effluent average for Pinole Hercules was 11.5 milligrams per liter with a percent removal of 95. For Benicia, they had a CBOD effluent average of 12 and a percent removal of 96. For TSS, Pinole Hercules had an effluent average of 20.4 and a removal of 96%. City of Benicia had an effluent average of 7.4 with a percent removal of 98. Enterococcus laboratory results had an effluent average for Pinole Hercules of 9, most probable number. And for City of Benicia, Enterococcus lab result of 8.9. For ammonia, Pinole Hercules had an effluent average of 35 milligrams per liter, and City of Benicia had ammonia effluent average of 38 milligrams per liter. So we're both relatively close.
Question here, sorry.
Yes.
Can I can I jump in a question? So thank you for sharing this information. It's very helpful. Again, one thing I was curious, I don't have enough context. So higher the number is better, higher average is better, or lower the average is better? I was not quite sure to compare those two numbers here.
Yes, so for
Higher
the,
is better or lower is better?
for the
Favorable,
effluent,
which one is favorable number?
yes, I understand. The question is, how do you understand which one is better?
Yeah.
The effluent average, obviously a lower number will be better.
So lower is favorable number.
Yes, and for
higher
percent removal, obviously, the higher the better.
Okay, are we referring to percent removal? No, I was referring to the effluent average. So average higher,
Lower.
lower is favorable, higher is unfavorable. So I think TSS seems like, we are a little higher than the Venetia.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
So I don't know, is there any color that you can paint the picture on this one, or why is we are higher, or not necessarily we are pointing the finger, but we wanted to understand our characteristics, what characteristics we have different than they do, and then how that will translate, our general public's, understanding.
Yes, understood. I don't have an exact reason of why ours is much higher. We did receive, in the last plan upgrade, they increased the aeration basin capacity to have 20 million gallons per day. So they are much larger than what we can really use under average flow. So sometimes that makes it difficult on operations just because we're using in dry weather a fraction of the amount of capacity. It's a number that we can definitely work on. I don't have an exact reason of why theirs is that much lower than ours, and ours does vary. Like for example, I know the other day we had a result of 16. So that's lower than this number, but still not as low as Benicia's number at 7.4. So that's definitely a number that we can work on. It is still below our effluent limit. The other thing is lower numbers sometimes also equates to more money. So you're not necessarily winning any awards for being lower, and there's a cost to bring any number down, whether it be providing more air to the aeration basin or chemical costs or things like that. So there's always something that can be done to bring each of these constituents down. It's just a matter of, do we want to spend more to reach those lower numbers?
Yeah, answer is very clear. Yes, we want to bring that number, but without breaking the bank.
Right.
So that is the thing. Thank you again.
You're welcome.
Did you have any questions?
No question, just comment. Yeah, it's like where do we invest without compromising the overall, not overall is not even the best word. Yeah, where do we invest in order to have the least amount of discharge that can produce harm in the bay? And not sure that we can do much more with regard to influent.
Right.
So I guess it's an ongoing question that in this field, isn't it?
Yes. And we will be, at some point, switching to a nutrient removal process, and TSS will be significantly lower when you run a nutrient removal process. So in time, with the stricter permit limits coming, and as we switch to a nutrient removal process, these performance indicators and our effluent averages will come down.
So there are a few things, right? Like some plants have recycled water, which pull out more and reduce discharge. So you could reduce that number, but again, that's costly. There's several processes that a wastewater plant can go through, but yeah, ideally you want to get your numbers below the legal limits, and then if you can get them lower, obviously it's a lot better. But what we're seeing is California starting to move towards lower limits and other, like this nutrient content. That's a big one. So everybody is trying to meet the standard, and California gives you time to do that. The question becomes, what the struggle is that when do you dose the appropriate resources into the plant, and do you have those resources to do it, right? So it starts to become that juggle there, but the team's been doing great in reporting all of that out. And I think that's one of the reasons why this committee is important, is that, for the public, we're letting everybody know, like, hey, this is what's happening, and this is what, when we collect your bill, this is what we're putting it towards, right? I had a question about how does our plant, and I know this is a larger question, work regionally with Rodeo, Benicia, the Richmond plant? Is there a group that meets and discusses these things? Because I'm starting to think that as we're going through our maintenance manual, as we're going through a lot of equipment's aging out, and I'm sure everybody's having that same issue. Is there a way to start, when we go out to bid, to join up with other agencies to go out for one larger bid? That way we could try to get more competitive pricing, and more so not get stuck with the low. I personally believe that blower was a low bid, and I know how that process works. People will then tend to go get the most inexpensive thing they could find, which is usually discontinued equipment or soon to be discontinued equipment. How does your team work with those other organizations to try to do maybe a larger bid package that can help regionally, or if that exists at all?
Yes, thank you for the question, Councilmember Tave. We have explored options as opportunities have presented themselves. We share an outfall with Rodeo Sanitary District, so there is some interconnectivity already there. There was a project that we evaluated with Rodeo that had to do with further solids treatment. That didn't end up going through just because of funding reasons, but we do occasionally, if the opportunity is there, we do explore those options with other surrounding agencies.
Right.
West County has been going through a large upgrade recently. We did not attempt or hear anything from them in regards to teaming up, so there hasn't really been any synergy in that manner, but that could have been another opportunity because they already had a solids project going and others, but we didn't have any opportunity there. Other than those two large projects, those are the only two that I could think of where there could have been an opportunity.
Right.
And neither of them panned out. But the project that we have with the effluent outfall, since we do share an outfall with Rodeo, that's kind of the next opportunity. If they have plant upgrades that they need to do, we can talk about combining projects.
I think that'd be a great idea, because to Director or Councilmember Batari's point, the syncing of all of this is really what we're trying to get to. Because if we know our analyzers are 2 years away from replacement, and another organization is going through an analyzer upgrade, there's some gains for us to move that timeline up, invest now with that group. So I guess as we're going through the maintenance manual and as we're looking at those timings or the cadence that we're using, I would encourage you to work with those organizations, and even if it's just a quarterly meeting of, hey, what do we have coming up down the line? That way we're not missing any opportunities there, because I think everybody's going through the same scenario. And I know we talked about this a while ago with roads, was kind of the same thing. Was there a way to sync up with other organizations and do one larger order versus, trying to do our own thing and pay top dollar, and then the next agency kind of does the same thing to kind of just, pull all those things together. So, but thank you. I appreciate the answer and the data. Was there any questions? Comments? Okay.
Comment? You'll take comment?
Yeah, absolutely.
No, kind of related to that is, well, one question that I have is whether you meet with your counterparts, and how often that is, so that you can have an exchange. It doesn't have to be a set agenda, but just to find out, discover what's on their docket 6 months, a year from now. And I suppose timing it with when council members have their discussions about the budget, right? Because that's on a cycle, and we know that cycle. And then the other is that at these get-togethers or meetings, you can also initiate. And I know I'm at fault for having, kind of waiting until an opportunity presents itself, and I forget that I can also initiate. And it may not be the right timing, but at least it's out there that I'm interested in X, Y, Z. And then timing doesn't always happen, doesn't coincide, but it's out there. And then a year or 6 months down, maybe it is the right timing, or something else externally comes along where one of the members of that group, and I'm turning to you, your peers, will remember that. And it's like, oh, let's create the opportunity. So I think I'm also kind of encouraging that type of approach, because I don't know how you work. You may very well look for that. And I suppose I'm also adding to Councilmember Tave's comments to encourage that kind of approach. Yeah.
Yes, thank you for the question. Currently, I don't have any set ongoing meetings with my counterparts at other wastewater agencies. I have met with Rodeo Sanitary District multiple times over the past 4 years since I've been here. I've had phone calls with my counterpart at West County. I see some of my counterparts at other regular wastewater meetings and events, but I don't have any regular meetings scheduled with them. But that's something that we could do in the future to possibly see other opportunities and synergies approaching.
If I may, there is a technical advisory committee that we participate in, including the different agencies within the county. And if I may add something brief about the projects. The budget was approved by City Council on June 17th, and I emailed a copy, and I'll be happy to send another one if not available. Including of the approval is the 5-year capital improvement plan. And for fiscal year 25-26, it contains 6 sewer projects, 2 stormwater projects, and 2 infrastructure assessments. Along with the approval, we also were able to add an associate engineer position, which was posted on July 1st. So in the next meeting, we'll provide you with an update on that. The focus of the associate engineer would be solely on sewer-related projects.
Great. Awesome.
Okay, we can move on to the final 2 slides. So these last 2 slides Since we have new people on this council, this first picture is just an aerial view of the treatment plant so that you can get an idea of what it looks like. We can move on to the final slide. This is just a 2D flat view of the treatment plant, and it's color coded to give everyone on the council an idea of what in the treatment plant was upgraded during the last major improvement project that concluded in 2018. So the numerical number next to each of those is the process, and then the year is the year in which that process area was last upgraded. Anything in green was from the last major project, and anything in orange was existing equipment or structures from previous years. Some of the processes may have received like a light upgrade where a structure was kept in place, but maybe the interior equipment was upgraded. So if you see a structure that is surrounded in green or orange but has green in the center, then that means we kept that structure and replaced the interior components. But all in all, I think the treatment plant was probably 70% at least upgraded during the last project. Almost every process area was, evaluated or upgraded. The digesters weren't really evaluated or upgraded in that project because they had already received a major upgrade in 2007, 2008 timeframe. But aside from the digesters, most of the other equipment was upgraded, refurbished, or at least the interior equipment replaced. And if you guys have any questions on either the aerial view or this 2D slide, please let me know.
I have a question.
Please go ahead.
So I was looking at I appreciate this, the color coding and the dates next to each item. I was looking for the oldest, and I'm sure that over time, what is attended to is what's crucial or critical for whatever reason. And I noticed two items with a 1955 date. So one of them, the chemical feed building, is that primarily a storage area? And the reason I ask with that kind of intonation is because 1955 is a very, very long time ago, and the integrity of whatever that building does, it would surprise me that it's still holding up as well as it ought to. And you're smiling, so you can tell us more about that. There's another item, also with the 1955 date. I'm looking for that. Well, you know the plant, like the palm of your hand, I'm sure, so you can let us know.
Yeah, so the two oldest parts of the treatment plant that are from 1955 is as you mentioned, the chemical feed building, and then one of the digesters was built in 1955. So yes, it is shocking that structures that old are still in good working condition. The chemical feed building, I believe, used to be like a maintenance shop. So is a building that was repurposed. We still have all of our active chemical analyzers and feed pumps in that building, and it also houses one of our backup power generators. And then digester number 1, which was built in 1955 also. The structure itself is from 1955, and the digesters received some refurbishment in the 2007, 2008 timeframe. So there was mechanical components that were replaced during that time, but the concrete structure is in fact still from 1955.
I don't know if this is any consolation. My analogy is with clothing items, that over the years, clothing, good quality clothing, has been lost at its cost. In other words, we're not paying for the same quality that we could have maybe a decade ago even. Do you find that that's the case in some instances here, where those structures that were originally built in 1955 were built so well that that is the reason they're still operating or functioning?
Yeah, I think it has to do with the maintenance. If you stay on top of your interior and exterior coatings, you'll get a lot longer usage out of them. So I guess that's an attestament to how this building has held up over time, just the maintenance that has been kept up on.
Thank you. That's the better reason, and I think I should have used a different analogy, maybe like a building structure and the need to maintain that. Okay, thank you so much.
Welcome.
Okay, see no other comments or questions. Is that the end of the presentation? Okay. All right, I think we can move on to, I don't know if we need action for accepting the report, or is it just being, yeah, it's just reported. We'll move to item 6, new sewer connections, Pinole verbal, Hercules verbal. Are there any new connections?
No new connections for Pinole.
I don't have that information to report this evening, but I will report back at the next meeting.
Okay. We have on the agenda, that was item 6, and then we have item 7. I think I want to give an opportunity for council members to just ask if there's any topics that they'd like to see covered, in our next quarterly.
Well, one thing that I wanted to have by next quarter, the site visit at
Okay.
council, that helps us. And maybe, I don't know, the new bidding process, I want to understand where we stand on that bidding process. I think
Okay.
there are 2 action items. Or unless there is any urgent questions that, the team needs the direction from the council or board. But now I think these are the 2 areas that I see that, the why RFP process is not getting traction. Let's look into that part, how and why not and whatnot.
Okay.
And the side visit, 2 things for me. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Not so much an item with regard to the technical aspects of the work, but more about procedure and communication. So I happened to be available tonight because I had an earlier meeting, and I found out about this meeting. But I would not have found out otherwise, and yet I'm the alternate for Pinole. So that speaks to 2 things. Even amongst us council members, we don't always communicate. So we rely on staff who is available every day at City Hall or at your posts or at the, to communicate with us, to help us out that way. So we also, I think we're expecting someone to take note, but she wasn't here. So for whatever reason, maybe that was also a communication matter. So if we can establish, if it hasn't yet been established, how the representatives from each city and the alternates as well can find out about the new dates, times of meetings, and also agenda. So I was thankful that you had the agenda on your cell phone. Again, as an alternate, I did not receive an agenda. So that's an omission that I think we're aware of and we can now take care of, hopefully. So I'm not sure who to turn to, but I'm turning to you for that.
Yes, and we do apologize for this misside. Actually, Leticia was not feeling well earlier in the day, and that's probably why she didn't wasn't able to come in and join us. It's a relatively new function for her because there were no meetings between June of last year and April of this year. With that being said, we're planning quarterly meetings, and we sent an invite to book the time and dates on the calendars. I apologize if you haven't received the invite. We will definitely send it to you.
And that would be true as well for the alternate in Hercules, or whoever are your regular representatives and alternate.
Councilmember Grimsley, but I thought it was Councilmember, not Mayor D'Angelia, but I want to double check. Please double check.
See, and as it turns out, both of them were in the same meeting when I was here earlier. So,
Both of them here?
mm-hmm.
Oh,
So, I'm glad you brought
we
this
missed
up,
each other somehow.
Councilmember Martinez Rubin. We did have that brief discussion earlier about these meetings and, their purpose and why we're here, right? I mean, I know that we have some pretty major sewer work going on in Pinole, and I think we do need to talk about this organization and its structure, because I think we're missing. We're getting a lot of good content that I think has been kind of what's been normal, right? But I know that there's a lot of work that both cities are doing. This might be a good forum to have that work, especially when it's sort of related, to be presented here in this meeting. So I know that there was a discussion, that we had with staff to talk about what this committee means, what this committee can do. And also what I like about this committee is that it gets into the details and doesn't really have the full counsel. So if we have to bring information back, a lot of the discussion can happen here in the weeds and then kind of funneling up to the council if decisions need to be made. In particular, the projects that were coming out. If we didn't have that meeting, I don't know if I would have said we need an associate. You know what I mean? So it's like there's a lot that can be said here and done here that I think will feed into both councils pretty neatly. The thing that I wanted to talk about was the resources as well. I know that we have a video cameraing truck for Pinole. I'm not sure Hercules has one, right? And if so, how between the two cities? What does that funding source look like? How does that all work out? I just think that there's a lot of synergy that we're probably missing by not putting those on the agenda, talking about them, and having the staff discuss how they would want to see those resources utilized. So I would just suggest that you guys think about that too, going into next quarter's meeting. And if there's stuff that can come of that, great. If not, that's cool too. I mean, I don't think anybody's pressing for everything to just start moving right away. But I think we need to talk about what that means for us versus Hercules hiring a camera crew if needed. We have the resources, so it just seems like it would be something we could share across the agencies. That was one thing that came to mind. I think that, as we're going into, our CPI is low. We talked about that last time. Economy is kind of leveling out here. I think we're going to need to be able to share resources and try to get as much synergy out of both organizations as possible. So as you guys are thinking about that, I think we need to, how does that relate to sewer? How does that relate to the plant? And then moreover, what grants are out there? What, the forward thinking portion, is that something that both teams can work together on? I'm trying to figure out like where those lanes are, where we can get better gains for both cities. So, go ahead,
If I
please.
may add too, and what I find, because I always rely on staff for the presentation of the technical aspects, and because I don't know a lot of things, I am hopeful that what I ask is not just absorbing time, but it actually poses a question or I make a statement that reflects what either gives you another idea or stirs something that might be helpful to you. And I won't know that if I'm not always here, and I may not always be here. But that's my thinking as how I approach my seat here. Not to interrupt what you know to do best, but to try to understand so that ultimately we're in a healthy city, and we do what we can to keep a healthy bay. And I think we all share that. So thank you for indulging my questions and curiosity.
You're welcome.
If I may also add that we're trying to improve the logistics. It's unfortunate that the meetings were placed on hold for quite some time, and now we're trying to reinstate them in an efficient way. We were speaking with David earlier today to have also a Zoom, rather than having my email address.
Right.
So we will be improving the setup and make it somewhat similar to the city council meetings rather than.
Sure. Yeah. And I know that this is still a quarterly meeting as well. So that's stuff that, in a very short meeting as well, right? I just think that this could be more, and that we can get a lot more by formalizing a few more things, kind of pinning down, who's taking minutes and all that stuff.
Yes.
There was one more thing I wanted to bring up. Brought up the sewer lateral, the sewer conversation, the agreement between both cities, right? I know that's a larger task to start taking a look at, but it is rather old. And I'm just trying to figure out if there is a way to have a discussion about if this committee were to do more, and through your guidance or through staff's guidance, like what that would mean, and if there's revisions or things that we could agree on to move that agreement further. I'm not sure if it's a joint powers agreement. Just the language. I know that it was written a while ago, so it's not something that's easily interpreted today. But if staff could take a look at that with both our city and Hercules, try to figure out, okay, what does this look like 10 years from now? What does this look like with additional regulations that will be coming in? How does that grow, and how does that keep that balanced to some degree? Because I know that when we had to do the upgrades, that was, the agreement was great for that. But does it speak to, growth? I know that there's a development in Hercules, I think it's like 40 homes, right? There's properties that are infills in Pinole. I know that our city manager is going through a full property inventory and looking at what does Pinole look like, with the property management moving forward. So there's these growth plans that I think both cities are doing. I just don't want us to get too ahead of our skis with all the plans that we have, and then the sewer plant is stuck again, and we're having to do another upgrade. You know what I mean? I just think that there's a way to sync those.
Yes, and if the agreement is not available to you, I'll be happy to email it to everyone. It is quite old, and maybe we could start the conversation on the staff level and bring them some thoughts to the next meeting. And also meeting all the requirements that have been set already,
Yeah.
and in future progress. So we'll brainstorm together and bring some ideas for the next meeting.
And it may be, hey, things fine, right? I just think that, a lot of times our documents sit for so long and they're not refreshed and revisited and relooked at. It'd be great to just see a fresh set of eyes on it and really have the forward planning in mind. So, okay.
No, and somewhat selfishly is we're also, I want to say, enjoying that you are here, new to us, and energetic and eager to take a look at these documents and to bring them to so that eventually they are synchronized and current as best possible.
Right.
There are so many other things that lag. We know that, and so I think it's exciting when you do find yourself on on parallel tracks, but that are working well together.
Right.
Thank you.
Can I make
Please,
one quick
please.
comment? Actually, I agree what all you guys said, but I really wanted to understand and a little bit more strategically focused that what are our resource available, our immediate challenges that our staff has, and then let's start from them and how we can facilitate or take to the next level, and then definitely down the line could be more strategic, like grant opportunities, more collaborations, best practices, anything and everything in between, right? So maybe we can talk all day long, but let's start. I don't want to overwhelm our staff to giving so much things early on, and then being more chaotic. Then let's be more strategic and how you eat elephant like one piece at a time. So,
Right.
And I would like to have them to vet through and then warrant it or not, and then maybe we'll go from there.
Yeah, agreed. I think that you're right. It's not something, and this is a subcommittee, so obviously the technical staff is going to get together and go through that plan. I just think that, have you seen or anybody seen that document? Right. I mean, one of the things that's hard is that once you get elected, you're midstream, right? I think we were right towards the tail end of the wastewater plant when we in 2018 for the upgrade. So really, reviewing a document wasn't a top priority, right? We do have kind of a lull here, right, where the plant is upgraded. We have the discussions of what the next 10 years. So that's a good time to revisit and look at those documents and try to figure out, okay, is there anything in there that needs to be updated or anything like that. So it's not something that I think we're going to have all the answers next meeting, but I think that once that's on the agenda, we'll have some information, and then once we do the tour, we understand the agreement, we could start to have more robust conversations. It's just that the worst thing that we can do is, create a document like an O&M manual and put it on the shelf, right? They're living documents. They need to be refreshed and revisited as much as possible. So, okay. All right. So, seeing no other comments and questions, we'll go ahead and adjourn to the item 7, adjourn to the regular subcommittee meeting of October 2nd, 2025 at 7 p.m. Thanks, everybody.